Hello guys, we continue our SEOday web promo conference, and our next speaker is Tachalova, who will tell us about, no, am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And we will hear now the presentation about making links, not war. And I'm really intrigued what it is going to be about. Please, Alex.
Okay, so thank you very much, guys, for having me today. I'm super excited, and I want to say that I had a pleasure to listen all previous presentations, and it was really insightful. And so it's my pleasure to be here, and I hope that everyone will stay till the end. So I'm going to share my screen right now, and we are going to see what I have. Just hold on. Okay. So, build love, not links, and the power of effective communication. So basically, yeah, and I'll try to bring it's my personal experience about doing that, and believe me, I'm really experienced in building all those relationships, and so I believe the last 3 years, I've been investing a lot in this process. And so the question for you guys, do you really investing in a relationship? Do you build them? How do you build them? And do you familiar with this? When someone random dude writing to you, hey, please put a link to your website, or if you're an expert, just please make links for this price, which is really ridiculous from my point of view. The reason is here, it's a cheap approach. Do you try to build a relationship with someone who is really who you really care in that way? So, for example, with your husband, with your daughter, hey, I'm going to give you 10 bucks and you will do this. No, it's not a way of communicating. It's not a way of dealing with people. And that's about doing it in a really proper way. And today, I want to tell you how you can do it from the very beginning till the very end. So starting from getting those people and collecting lists and ending up by measuring results. And you know what? Just think over it, because building a relationship, it's an art. It's an art of finding unique and personalized approaches to different people. And you should be really inspired by that, because only people who are inspired and who are deeply believe in what they do and what they are doing, they can they can succeed in doing that. So I highly recommend you 2 books. I'm sorry I didn't write it there, but you can just simply Google for them. It's Getting to Yes. It's a guidebook about dealing with different people in order to reach your goals. So it's Getting to Yes. And the other one, which I've recently found out, but it's a fabulous book. And it's so much insightful and inspiring in terms of doing new stuff. It's called Talk Like TED. So Google for those books, and I highly recommend them for your future reading list. But without having a system, without putting everything together, you can't be sure that it's a successful way of connecting the dots. So here is a system which I use and how I do it. And so take a look at this. It's really simple. So there is no extra steps, like there is only three simple steps. So you need to make a list of influencers. Then what you need to do? You need to start a conversation, basically. And don't forget to provide value. At each step, you should provide value. And the last one, when you have a list of experts, influencers, you are really good in starting a conversation and moving it, then you can measure your results. But how can you get all those experts in one list and how you can do it? I highly recommend you to use those tools, and I'm going to explain you why. So first of all, I want to pay your attention on Follow Me Wrong, and it's a tool from Moz which I really love and use on a daily basis. It's extremely useful tool, and it shows you different users by, so you can search, so it has a lot of different features actually, but I want to focus on a particular one, and that's about searching Twitter profiles by the specific keywords. So basically it's a sample of data of users who are attached to content marketing, and you can export this list, and it's going to be a starting point for your list of influencers. Basically, you can search by any keyword, and it's not limited. The other one, really great tool, which actually I can't believe that for some time ago I had been using it, and so right now I have Basuma, and it's an incredible tool. And those guys, they did a huge job to do it, and they're like updating it on a regular basis, and it's an incredible tool. You can search there by influencers and expert lists, as well as you can filter out it by bloggers, influencers, whatever you want, and it's really useful. So talking about this one option, it's a good one because you can search faster and more effectively in different social media channels like LinkedIn, G+, and the rest of others. So you put here, I'm sorry, oops. I didn't notice it's Russian because I had previously a Russian conference, and it's not it's a Russian world, so it's journalists. So basically, I'm sorry about that. I wasn't really paying attention to this, but I've already translated, so there shouldn't be any problem. So basically, but the tool is not for Russian market. It's for, basically it was built mostly for European and US, UK market. And it's really good, and so you can give it a try, and also it's free of charge, which is also a great point to give a try. And that's one. I found this one a couple of months ago on Product Hunt. It was, I believe, in July, and I was really interested in giving it a try and seeing what kind of data sets it can provide. And I can say that it's really a reliable tool, and it has a lot of interesting data in comparing to other tools. It has some additional features which you can utilize and find as useful as well. And so that was so all the tools which I was covering previously, they were like about direct search. So you was directly searching by influencers in those tools. And here is, I want to give you a food for thought about how you can search it not only directly in tools, but also from other angle. So that's one. That's a really interesting tool. It's called SimilarWeb, and today you've already had a presentation from this company, from SimilarWeb, and I love this tool as well, and I use it pretty a lot, and that's a super actionable tool. So what you can do here in terms of finding influencers and experts, you can search by your competitor in this tool and see from which websites they have referral traffic. It's coming to their website, and then you can connect the dots and see what kind of websites you should prioritize in your list, and trying to build a relationship with them by just firstly, because if your competitor receives traffic from this website, it's a valuable website for you as well. So it's a good point here, and I highly recommend you to try, because besides paid parts, SimilarWeb provides a bit of data in a free mode, so you can try it and see. I don't think that it's going to take you a lot of time, and It's really nice tool. And that's something which is going to kind of integration with SimilarWeb, which is I highly recommend to do. That's an example. It's called SERPstat, and they had presentation as well as this conference. And also you can use SEMrush or any other tool which basically provides competitive insights. But here is a screenshot from SERPstat. And so what you can do, if you don't know your competitors, you can firstly go to SERPstat, find your competitors, and then go to SimilarWeb and search by them. Or if you know your competitors, but it's like normally it's limited list, it's not 100 or 1,000 domains, you can search by those competitors in SERPstat and then be back to SimilarWeb and have a really good integration of data. So it's really different approaches, like comparing to directly searching tool for influencers by Twitter profiles or any other LinkedIn profiles, so any other social media channels. This one is an interesting approach of doing it in other way, but I recommend it as well because you can find a really relevant sources of traffic and new websites here. And when you have all those tools and you can put everything together, it's time to it's time to be inspired by your work. Because if you don't have inspiration, that I was talking about in my first part of my presentation, you can't really do a successful communication. Because if you feel that communication with people isn't really what you're focused on in your job or in your life, because honestly, I think that our lives, they're really somehow not integrated, but our job is a part of our life, honestly. And you should be inspired about what you do and how you do it, because fueled by inspiration, you can do a lot of achievements. And that's what I feel about me personally. When I'm really inspired about something, I do much better than when I'm not inspired. So, but people who are not really inspired in their job, they proceed those weak communication. It's called like so weak communication, which is so called by me, and it's a pointless communication because it leads to nothing. It's useless and it's annoying, and it doesn't create any emotional connection between people, and it doesn't trigger any further reactions, which is super upsetting for me. So in order to make it in a really good way, at least trying to make you noticed by other people, I highly recommend to follow these really simple steps. So you can share their content, which is going to be which is going to make them feel some kind of appreciation about your activities. As well, you can follow them on SMM channels, on social media channels, and that's make you recognizable for them. And in simple way of commenting as well, because for example, I was approached by a tool called Mention, and I'm going to mention this tool, which is like really which is like a really interesting, a funny way of like going to mention tool. But and what they did, they're really good in building relationship. I had a blog post where I was like mentioning different tools, and I was referring to them, and they went to this blog post and commented like, thank you very much for adding us in this list. And it was really nice. I was like, oh, such a nice guys. And that built some kind of emotional attachment between me and them. And it's a really nice way of getting things done and being recognizable by other people. So I highly recommend you to do it and not to waste your time on writing pointless emails and spending a little bit of your time on being recognizable and on providing value to other people. However, without setting a goal of communication, you are going to fail as well. So you should have a really clear goal of your communication. As well as you need to research about person. Because without research, you can't tailor a personalized message. And the last one, yeah, it's like all those, so they're moving us to a personalized message, really personalized. And here is an example of, I think it's a good message, and I was like sending it, I was sending over it to one guy, which I was trying to to capture for a guest blogging opportunity for my partner. And so I wrote about his article, and I pointed out that I loved something in this article, and then I asked about doing a guest blogging. So I had a personalized part, and I had a reason of my communication with him. And I received an answer, and it was really nice. And in the end, he did a blog post for one of my partners. And that message, I've recently received it from Cognitive SEO, and they're really nice guys, and they did a huge blog post, a really good blog post. I highly recommend you to take a look at this. And they added me and notified me about that, and it was really nice. I was like, oh, that's so lovely, and I felt really emotionally attached to them, and I felt something about them. And that's a way of building a relationship. That's a real way of doing that, in investing in different, so it's a different ways of netting in it. So it was like a big work, because they did a huge piece where they were like mentioning different authors and doing your research. But you can do it in a smaller way, but also in an effective way. So it's up to you how you are going to tailor it and how you are going to present it. But the main idea here is in doing that and in considering that, and not skipping it. And sometimes it's really upsetting when we don't get any response. So we are like tailoring our messages, doing research, but no response. Yeah, it happens. It happens with me as well, and I'm also upset. I'm super upset at that point, because I'm really investing in doing that. I was like, fuck. Yeah, I felt like that. I'm sorry, but it's really like that. It's super upsetting for me. But in order to know what has happened and why they are not reacting to your messages, you need to know whether they're opening your messages or not. And so that's the main idea here. And that's why you need to track your results and know exactly how much times they've already opened your email, and whether you, and how you need to tailor follow-up email, because you need to have a data-driven approach here, and you need to build your further communication based on this data. And that's a tool which you can use. I use Yesware, but I know that Mixmax is much better than Yesware, but I was from the very beginning attached to Yesware. That's why I'm continue using it. So that's my point here. But I had a lot of great stuff about Mixmax. And when you have all those steps, the last one is measuring your results, because without that, you can't be sure that your communications are enough effective, and so you really get to the point of your final goals of link building. That's why you need to start tracking everything from the very beginning. And so I use all those tools in order to keep an eye on a landscape and tracking my results. That's a Nimble. And it's a CRM system, pretty basic. You can use any CRM system, but this one is extremely cheap. That's why I use it. It's only costs $15 per month. And that's why I use it, and I put all my contacts here. And if I have a client, it's also, I set up for clients their personal account in Nimble, and I track it. So I track it in terms of communication. I track when people reference to to me or to other brands in order to have the list of the most active, let's say, influencers and the less active. And that's really helpful because I can track everything and I don't need to have all those spreadsheets or whatever it can be. And also I create deals because it's a deal. So any kind of communication is a deal for me from my perspective, and I move them from steps to step and move them to close deal. And that's about tracking like brand mentions, and that's content alerts in BuzzSumo. I use it and they're fantastic. They're alerting me about newly launched content, and I can thank people, and I can thank so everyone who are mentioning me or my clients. Oops, I'm sorry, that's too bad, Sumus. I really love it. That's a newly launched tool. It's called Brand Mentions. It was launched by Cognitive SEO, but I highly recommend it to try because it has some valuable insights. For example, it provides it gives you also a review of LinkedIn publications, which is really insightful, as well as slide shares. So it has some valuable insights as well. And that's about Ahrefs, and they have a really lovely insights. So they have also content alerts, and as well as it's surprisingly for me that sometimes I need to browse also backlinks like an Ahrefs, like you see, because sometimes neither BuzzSumo or any other tool reports me about new content, and I only and only Ahrefs allows me to see it. So it's good to browse new backlinks as well.
Sandra,
And
I'm sorry, we have 1 minute left, so if it's
so
possible,
basically,
please.
it's my last slide, so no worries. And basically, I'm really short. It's about Moz, and you can just also keep your brand mentions as well, and it's a good tool to use. And that's really short. It's just 1 minute success story, and I want to talk about SEMrush and search metrics versus and that their brand mentions. And there, you can see that SEMrush brand mentions, they're averagely over, let's say, 40-50 per. So it's like per day, yeah, it's per day. And that's you see a graph with search metrics. So what's it about? It's about like being invested and not being invested, investing in relationship. And SEMrush, I know that they do a lot in terms of investing in relationship, and search metrics, as I can see from this graph, no. That's the answer for the question how you are going to stand out if you are going to take care about brand mentions, and if you are going to take care about building a relationship. That's your future, and I hope it's inspiring and encourage you to do it. So thank you very much for your attention. So you can find my slides here. It's on a slide share. And so if you want to talk with me about building relationship, whatever you want, or just say hi to me, you're very welcome. And I promise that I'm going to answer on each email, and I do it. So you're very welcome. Thank you very much. And hopefully it was enough insightful and useful for you guys. Thank you very much for having me today.